Laura, this is interesting from Cody, Lord Clavanus. Firstly, thank you so much for your show and dauntless pursuit of truth-telling. The Daily Wire podcast and articles, yours especially, are a bright spot in my day and in this dark world. My question, how do you feel about the modern-day application of the third commandment, do not take the name of the Lord your God in vain? When I was young, my grandparents would not even allow me to say gosh or golly for fear of being too close to taking God's name in vain. Today, standards, even for Christians, seem to be relaxed, but it still grates on me to hear it. I would love your thoughts on this and other things in a similar vein. Thank you, Cody, from MT. Is that Montana?
I think so, yeah.
It's such I could go on forever on this, and I won't. But, our language, we have allowed our language to get degraded. We have allowed we've allowed ourselves to be convinced that four-letter words don't have any meaning. It's just being a prig to say that you shouldn't use them. We use them in conversation. I'm as guilty of this as anyone. I'm not saying I'm not, but we use them as adjectives and commas and whatever you want. Women use them, which is always a bad thing because women set the tone of conversation, and men will clean up their act if women clean up theirs first. That will happen, as they just took down a sign in a school that said, if you act like a lady, men will act like a gentleman. That is true. That is simply, that's why they took it down, because it's true. We can't have any truth running around in our schools. But I think this is also true, that to use the word with God, the name of God circumspectly, is to teach yourself, to train yourself to respect your Creator. It is to teach yourself that. It is not a question of, oh, you did a bad thing, of, oh, you're naughty, oh, you're a sinner. It is simply to train your own heart and mind in respect for God, which will make you happier, smarter, and wiser. That is why you do it. And it is interesting to me that the only word that still seems to have meaning is the N-word, such that if you use the N-word in the sentence, oh, what an awful thing it is to use the N-word, you get fired. I mean, it's insane. It is insane. And that's the kind of thing we were talking about earlier when I showed the Stormy Daniels thing. When you have a stupid set of values, like, yes, use the Lord's name in vain. Yes, use four-letter words. When you have a stupid set of values, you end up in a stupid place. You end up living a stupid life. And a life in which a person can say, oh, the N-word, that's awful, and get fired is insane. And a life where people don't think about God and don't pay him the due respect, not because it's evil, not because it's wicked, just to train their own minds in what's important, is a degraded life. And I am as guilty of it as anybody else, and I'm not looking down on anybody. I'm simply saying that you're right. It's too bad.